gained through reasoned discourse, intellectual honesty, mutual respect, and openness to constructive criticism and change. Faculty members are central to this community. They serve as scholars pursuing the search for knowledge, and it's a free expression. As teachers instructing students, as professionals, as citizens contributing special knowledge and skills through public service and community participation. So I feel that in order to carry out the mission of the university, the faculty members, all of us as members of both the academic and broader public community have the right to a clear statement of academic freedom, tenure, and other fundamental faculty rights and responsibilities. So the purpose of today's webinar is to clearly understand and acknowledge these fundamental rights and responsibilities. Well, I have this mammoth but pleasurable task of introducing our chairperson, who's the guest of honor today, Professor Rajni Abhi. Ma'am, your brief bio is also by no means brief, but I will try to do justice to it, because ma'am has a illustrious career, and she has done her LLB, LLM, and PhD from the University of Delhi. She has been a teaching faculty in the Law Center since 1991, visiting professor to Beijing, Nanjing, and to Institute of Aeronautics and Aerodynamics. She has authored more than 10 books in law, dozens of articles on various subjects in several law journals. We all know that she has been the member of the Academic Council in Delhi University, Deputy Chairperson, Standing Committee, MCD, Mayor of MCD 2011-12. Ma'am has been member of DDA also, Delhi Jal Board, Vice President, BJP Delhi State, Vice Chairperson, Delhi Public Library, member of EC, Hemwati Nandan Bahuguna University, Government nominated Director of DDCA. She has traveled extensively all across the world. Some of the countries I'm mentioning, I'm not mentioning all the countries. Attended multiple conferences, presented papers in China, South Korea, Durban, South Africa, and Turkey. Ma'am is also the treasurer of Bharti College, apart from being the chairperson of Aditi Mahavidyalaya. So thank you once again, ma'am, for being here, for encouraging us to hold workshops like these. And now I would like to introduce the guest speaker for today, Professor Dinesh Adlakha, who happens to be my own teacher from Jesus and Mary College. So a big namaskar to my guru. He is extremely learned. He is professor in the Department of Spanish, graduate in mathematics, and then studied Spanish. He did his master's, MPhil, and PhD from the Department of Germanic and Romance Studies. He started his teaching career from English and Foreign Languages Universities, Hyderabad, in 1992. Since 1994, he's been teaching Spanish in Jesus and Mary College, University of Delhi. He's been member of the Academic Council, Delhi University, for 2 terms. He was DUTA secretary also during the 6th Pay Commission times. He's widely traveled in India, Europe, and Latin American countries for research interests in this subject, in Latin American literature and Indian Constitution. I think he's the perfect person to guide us with the rights and faculties, because I do notice as faculty members, we are so many times ignorant of this prime duty. I would request our principal, esteemed Professor Mamta Sharma, to say a few words before we start the webinar. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Priya. It's indeed my honor and privilege to welcome our Honorable Chairperson, Professor Rajni Abhi, for accepting the invite to become the guest of honor for today's event. It's a real pleasure to have you on board, ma'am. I extend a warm welcome to Professor Dinesh Adlakha ji for being the resource person of the day. And I would like to mention Dr. Rekha Dayal. She has been a constant friend and guide and whatnot. We have been together for quite a lot of time, and she was mentored in the projects that Aditi was having. It's a pleasure to have you, ma'am. Coming to the theme of today's event, it's important to know your rights so that if people try to take them away, you can stop them. Responsible people know what their rights are and respect the rights of others. Being responsible means being taking care of other people's right also. People work together better when they understand their roles. They're less jockeying for position, fewer arguments, and higher overall creativity when everyone understands their responsibility as part of the group. Less energy is wasted. Rights and responsibilities help make our communities better. Rights are freedom that we have that are protected by laws and ordinances laid down by our university, while responsibilities and duties are the things that we should do. In order to be good faculty member, as responsible member of the community, we must understand our rights and responsibilities. Every right implies a responsibility, and every opportunity an obligation, and every possession a duty. Quote John D. Rockefeller. I congratulate the Innovative Teaching Committee for organizing this webinar on such a meaningful and relevant topic. Special thanks to our speaker, Professor Dinesh Adlakhaji, for sparing his precious time, and our chairperson, Professor Rajni Abhiji, for being the guest of honor. I would like to say a few lines about the Innovative Teaching Committee that is presently hosting this event. Routine teaching is a part of our life since we entered into this profession. But with coming of new education policy, we have to have certain pedagogies which are innovative to the normal routine teaching. And I'm very sure this is the first event in that series, and we are going to organize number of events where we would be exploring the innovative teaching methods, pedagogies over the time. With these words, I hand you over to Professor Priya for the further deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind words and words of wisdom. And definitely, Innovative Teaching Committee will strive to hold many more webinars to introduce innovative teaching methods as part of NEP also, because that is a need of the hour as well. And we'll not let you down at all. We'll be doing a lot of work in this area. And before we start, Professor Dinesh Adlakha is here. Can you check, Roshni? Dr. Adlakha is here.
Yes, ma'am, sir is here.
Yes. Okay, sir. Over to you. Thank you so much.
Well, once again, a very warm good morning to each one of you. I'm grateful to the Innovative Teaching Conference or a committee of Aditi Mahavidyalaya, and in particular to Professor Priya for giving me this opportunity to interact with my colleagues. She asked me to throw some light on certain rules and regulations that we follow in Delhi University. I've selected some broad areas, and over the years, whatever knowledge I have acquired, I will definitely be sharing with you. To start with, I will talk about the leave rules that govern us in University of Delhi. As you all know, we have casual leave, we have earned leave, we have half-pay leave, and then we have commuted leave. Another leave that is admissible to teachers of Delhi University is the duty leave. Let me first draw a difference between special casual leave. There's one word more which is in practice in our university: special casual leave and duty leave. Friends, there is no recognized leave as such which may be called special casual leave. Special casual leave just depends upon, or you can say it is at the discretion of the sanctioning authority. Special casual leave for differently abled people, yes, that is there in Government of India rules. And up to 4 leaves can be given to differently abled people for their needs. You know, they have various needs which makes them special. And that's why 8 casual leaves that every other employee gets, for up to 4, the word used is up to 4, may be sanctioned to them by the competent authority. Now we come to the duty leave. Duty leave can only be sanctioned to you when your university or your college nominates you for some conference, otherwise to discharge the duties of Government of India or your state government, etc. But you must be nominated by the college or the university to be able to take advantage of this duty leave. Whereas, yes, to attend the seminars and all these things, your college, at the discretion of the principal, at the discretion of the competent authority, may give you special casual leaves for that. During the COVID times, Government of India yet made special provisions for this special casual leave, which were admissible to people taking care of their COVID-infected spouses, children, parents-in-law, etc. Oh, that was a special case. That's why this special case was assigned or given to us. So we must understand this difference between duty leave and special casual leave. Normally, our people sort of interchange these two, which is not the case. Duty leave, you can be assigned duty leave, you may be granted duty leave, but in that case, you should be nominated by the college and not otherwise. You are taking part in some conference, some seminar, presenting papers, or you're a resource person, or you are speaking, or you're a guest speaker, keynote speaker. In that case, the sanctioning authority may, at its discretion, give you special casual leave. Now, another aspect that I want to touch upon, or where there are certain we are not very clear about, and then there are areas of conflict, is about the commuted leave, which sometimes half-pay leave, which we sometimes loosely use the word medical leave. You know? If you go by the rule books, if you go by the statutes, then there is no word called medical leave. It is the half-pay leave that can be commuted to full-pay leave on the advice of a medical practitioner. From the medical practitioner, if we get a medical certificate from a doctor, then up to 240 days of half-pay leave, that is 480 days, 240 days commuted leave is assigned to us. Half-pay leave can also be used for private purposes, but in that case, it cannot be commuted. Commutation is only possible when you submit a recommendation from medical doctor that you need that leave for restoration of good health, and up to 240 days. Now, it is not that after 240 days, if you in your entire career exhaust 240 days, then you will not be entitled to for medical leave and all these things. On a certificate from doctor, you will definitely be given medical leave, but then the pay will be half pay. It will be half pay. Up to 240 days, it can be committed to full pay. After that, I would like to speak about the sabbatical leave. Sabbatical leave, as we know, is admissible to the employees, especially to university and college teachers. Earlier times, it was 1 year of leave, and 1 year of leave. May I take up these comments later on, please?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All this will be taken up in the question and answer. Yes, yes, sir. Don't bother about the chat box. We'll take them up later.
So I was talking about the sabbatical leave. Sabbatical leave earlier was admissible only to professors, that too for 1 year, And the rule was that if you have taken study leave, the sabbatical leave was not admissible. You are not entitled for sabbatical leave. After 6th Pay Commission, we got it changed to 2 years. It is admissible now to associate professors also. And now there are recent circulars where it says that even if you have taken study leave, you will be eligible for, you'll be entitled to the sabbatical leave. If need be, those circulars can, all these circulars that I'm talking about, or I'll be speaking to, I will share with Professor Priya Bir, and you can have access to them. So sabbatical leave is admissible to, or we all are now associate professors and above are entitled to that. 2 years, it only the thing is that it cannot be taken for 2 years at a stretch. It is admissible 1 year, then you come back, you serve the institution, and then again 1 year you can go and again come back and serve the institution for required number of years. Now, one trick that I would like to share with the colleagues is that whenever you go on a long leave meaning 4 weeks and upwards, that for me is long leave, try to take it from 2nd or 3rd of the month. Never take it from the 1st day of the month. And try to end it on 28th, 27th of the month. Now you'll ask me why this. I'm talking about not taking on 1st or 2nd of the month, 3rd or 4th onwards, and joining back on 26th, 27th, or 28th of this thing. So that 28 days now, the recharge, the Airtel ideas and all, they talk about 20 days. So let's also make the month of 28. The point is that if you take a leave and you don't attend the office for a month, you're not entitled for your transport allowance. And if you suppose you are taking a leave of 4 or 5 months, you start from 1st of January and join back on 30th or 1st of July. Then for entire 6 months, you will not be getting the transport allowance. But if you go on, say, 3rd of January and join on 27th of June, then you will be losing the transport allowance only of 4 months. You will be admissible. You will get the transport allowance for January as well as for June. So this is something which comes by experience. We have seen it, and then we try to tell our colleagues about these things, and try and do this. If it is, say, very this thing for you to go on first, then you cannot help it. But if you can do that, then this practice should be followed. This should be kept in mind, and your plan should be such that you proceed on leave on 2nd or 3rd of the month and try and join on 27th or 28th of the month. This was something about leaves. At the end or in between, if you want in between, we can take up the questions, or if you want at the end of the interaction, we can take up all the questions.
Sir, at the end.
The end. That's great. Now, second aspect that I would like to touch upon is the LTC. LTC, as we know, is admissible to all of us. I'm speaking about the teachers. So the day you join, your academic gateway that we earlier used to say was 6,000, then you move to 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, and 10,000 now is admissible. Next, now the pay matrices have come. So for professors, it's pay matrix 14. For associate professors, it's 13A. And then you have 13, 12, and 11 to teachers who join us. You are entitled to airfare the day you join. But as far as the railways is concerned, you are entitled to, when you join, you are entitled to second AC fare. And once you become the associate professor, only then the first class AC fare is entitled. You are entitled to claim the first class. LTC, they always give you and the rule says that shortest possible route. Shortest possible route. But if your house or your hometown or the place you are visiting happens to that the airport is far away, then that taxi fare also is entitled. For example, if you go to say visit Nathula, you should always write in your application Delhi, Nathula, and back. So what will happen that the nearest airport now, of course, Gangtok also has an airport, but earlier the nearest airport was Bardogra in West Bengal, Darjeeling. So Darjeeling to taxi fare up to Gangtok, and from Gangtok to Nathula, that taxi fare to and fro you will be entitled to, and that will be given to you. For Bagdogra, Gangtok, this thing, the helicopter service is also there. You can avail that also. That also is admissible under the rules. Now, one trip that I would sort of advise each one to make is a trip to Lakshadweep. If you want to visit Lakshadweep, this sports is the name of that society, Society for Promotion of Natural Tourism and Sports in Lakshadweep. This society has tie up with the Government of India. That's what is that corporation that runs the steamers and all this. So you can perform journey from Delhi to Kochi by air, and then from Kochi onwards, there is a 3 nights, 4-day excursion trip that takes you to 3 different islands of Lakshadweep. And in that, your fare is reimbursable to you. Only one portion which concerns about the food and all these things, that you have to pay on your own. It's a wonderful trip. We all are entitled to first class cabins there. I have myself made that trip. They take you to 3 beautiful islands. One is Kadmat, another is Minicoy, and third is their capital, Kavaratti. Beautiful beaches. You require permits, but that permit, once you travel, once you contract this sports, which is again authorized to take the LTC, and they'll give you a certificate, and on the basis of that certificate you can. So as I'm telling you, they take you to Minicoy, beautiful island. All the beaches there are pristine beaches. Only 150 travelers per day are allowed at one beach. So you can see the kind of restrictions there are, the kind of cleanliness, the kind of the beaches are. I mean, the quality of water is pristine. That's the word which comes to my mind at this moment. They take you to the second oldest lighthouse in Asia, that is in Minicoy, and it is it's a treat to eye to visit, go to that. They have preserved all the what you call ancient instruments and all that. So the lighthouse, how the old lamps and all that. Of course, now they are changing to new technology also, but then those at that time, 1800 or this thing, when the kind of lamps, etc., and climbing the stairs, so that gives you an idea of adventure in that sense. So this thing would be that you can the period for that, the ideal period for that is October to February. You need to book it in advance because it's heavily booked, and Ashoka and Company, I think, are also authorized dealers for that, where our LTC claim also gets cleared if you take tickets to them. But sports, you can take it online also. So now that Delhi University has promoted some of us to professor's grade, let me tell you that the air entitlement, as far as LTC is concerned, for professor, that is level 14 officers, is business class. Business class LTC is admissible to us. Earlier, this facility was only available to level 14 officers for official visits. If they were making any official visit, then only. But now, level 14 officers have this entitlement of business class. Although today the news is that Tata Sons have once again regained Air India. I don't know, the new rules will be framed, and then soon probably all the airlines will now be made open for LTC travel as well. But right now, as of today, we can only travel by Air India, and that too, the tickets must be purchased from either their website or from the Safjung Airport office of Air India. And there are only two, Balmer and Lowry and Ashoka and company. These are the two authorized agents. If you buy ticket from any travel agent, then the claim may be rejected. That we have to be very, very clear about. That while traveling on LTC, we must purchase our tickets either online from Air India portal or in India's office, which is located at Safjung Airport, or through this thing. Now, there was earlier times there was a controversy about service charges of these two agents. These two agents do take over and above their convenience fee, their service charges. But those service charges also, if they are through these two agents, then because Balmer and Lowry is anyway public undertaking company of Government of India, so those service charges also are admissible. They are the claim. If you make a claim of that, then the claim is settled in your favor. So that was about the LTC. Now, one more point which we, at least whether in teaching profession, must know about: the hometown. Hometown is declared at the time of joining. We do declare our hometown, whether our permanent address and our hometown are two different things, but hometown may be different from your permanent address. And the employees are entitled to change the hometown once in their entire service career. Now, there are certain tests for that change being allowed. First and foremost, if your parents are there, your parents-in-law there, your children are settled in there, this thing, you have property in that place, or a more beneficial test which comes down under, but that test is there and it's beneficial to employees, and generally we all, most of the times, satisfied that test. No, the competent authority, while allowing you to make change in your hometown, goes one after another these tests. And the test is that even for social functions, if you need to travel to that town frequently, then you are entitled to change your hometown. But that's allowed only once. If you are once made initial joining time, you have given your hometown, and once you have changed your hometown, then the second change is not allowed. That's about hometown. Now let's come to the most important aspect of that, and that is the pay fixation. Pay fixation, most of us now are in the process of being promoted to higher scales. The general rule for pay fixation is that when you move from one scale to another scale on promotion, then you are first given one increment in the grade in which you are, or in the level which you are, and then an equivalent is drawn in the next grade where you have been promoted. 6 months of service is must for next increment. And why I have touched upon this pay fixation thing, because this is an important aspect. You know, if your date of increment is 1st July and you have been promoted between 2nd day of January and 30th day of June, and your date of increment is 1st July, then please take the option of promotion or change of pay level from next date of increment. I'll explain this. If you want, I can just present my screen and I'll show you the tables which are there in our. I'll just. this table visible?
Yes, sir. Your Google screen can be seen.
Yeah. This is the pay matrix table, and I'll illustrate by example. See, let's first talk about the professors, and then I'll come to other this thing also. Say you are here, no? You are drawing a basic pay of 1,50,000.
Sir, the table is not visible, sir.
Table is not visible.
No, the screen is visible.
Now?
No, sir.
I'll just try it.
We can only see the screen with shortcuts on that. No tables.
Just a second, I'll just.
Yes, sir.
Is it now visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the table is there. This is the pay matrix table for the teachers, no? 7,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, and then this is the one for senior professors. Now, suppose your pay is here at 1,52,300, and you are now promoted, or wherever. I mean, I'm just by this thing taking 1,50,000. Now, if your date of increment is 1st July 1st July of any year, let's say, then your next increment will be 1,56,900. So, if you take promotion from date of promotion, then this will be your increment, and you will be fixed at 1,60,300 in the next grade. But if you wait for your next date of increment, then this will your increment on the first date, and this 1,61,600 would be your new increment granted on promotion, and then you will come your this thing will come to again 1,62,300. I think I'm making it clear, no? This one increment you get on the basis of your promotion in that the increment in that regular increment in the grade, and this 1,61,000 would be your increment on promotion, and that an equivalent would be drawn in the next table. That will be 1,60,300. If you take on the date of promotion, then this will 1,56,900 will be your pay in the existing pay scale, and next grade your 1,57,600. So in loss of one increment would always be there. But if your date of promotion happens to be after July, then it is better to take the promotion on the date of promotion only, because next increment will come after 1 year only, that is July. So waiting till that date is not advisable. Now, one more thing that I want to point out here is that suppose this was your 1,52,300 was your existing pay in your pay matrix, and you opt for the promotion from date of next increment, then it is not that you will not be given the benefit of new pay. Then for the period till your next increment, your pay will become 1,53,000. That is, which is equivalent to this, no? 1,52,300, 1,53,000 would be your pay, and till the date of next increment, your pay will be admissible on these on this basic pay. And once you give your option of adopting this thing, then your pay will start with 1,62,300. Right? And the same thing is there in all these pay matrices. Suppose in the you are promoted from 7,000, that is pay level 11 to pay level 12, and your pay happens to be 82,300, right? Once again, I'm pointing it out that if the date of increment, which in most of the cases is July, and your promotion happens before 30th June, 2nd of January and 30th of June, then it would be better that you wait for 6 months. Meanwhile, your pay would be fixed to a next higher level in the new pay matrix. Now, look at this. Here, 82,300, and the pay matrix starts with 82,200. So you cannot be given 82,200. You will be given 84,100 for the period when till your regular fixation takes place. Regular fixation now will take place like you were there at 82,300. One increment, regular increment will be 84,800, and increment on promotion will be 87,300, and equivalent of 87,300 is 89,800 in the next 60. So you can yourself see how the difference is coming if we opt our date of promotion according to these things. If your date of increment is 1st July and your promotion is taking place after July, then date of promotion should be your date of promotion should be your date for fixation in the new pay matrix. But if 1st July is your date of increment and your promotion happens between the 2nd day of January and up to 30th of June, then you should wait for the regular increment that is granted to you in your pay scale, and then get one more increment on the promotion and draw an equivalent into the next scale. This is what I wanted to sort of make a submission before you all about the. So I think I have explained myself. I have whatever points that Professor Priya Veer had asked me to prepare for, I have given you that. Now, if there are any questions, any queries, any doubts that are there, I'll be very happy to take them. I hope I have made some contribution to, as far as the rules are concerned, some contribution to our collective knowledge. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, you have made a beautiful contribution. With the help of even tables, you have tried to explain to us. And I think it must have cleared a lot of doubt that my colleagues and I have in our mind. But I would like to request Dr. Roshni to take up the questions in the chat box. And if my fellow colleagues have any questions, they can just raise their hand and the questions will be answered.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to take this opportunity and permission of the chair to start with the question answer session. It is a golden opportunity, and I thank sir for giving such a nice deliberation and information on these rules. And I would like to specially say thanks because sir gave the description of the his travel diaries also. That was really interesting, not exactly rules. So it is an interesting part and I enjoyed it. So let's start. I would like to start with the question of Professor Pooja Khanna. She has asked that, is there any capping on the number of duty leaves one can avail in an academic session?
Yes, ma'am. Normally it is 30 days. You cannot take more than 30 days duty leave in an entire year. Right? In 1 year, only 30 days capping. But again, once again, I'm trying to point it out that duty leave is when you are nominated by your college, and it is not otherwise. That you are presenting a paper, you give your this thing to principal, and principal can clearly say that no duty leave is admissible to you. But if your university, if your college nominates you to attend some seminar, go and speak something or do some duty, or you are called by the government, whether state government or central government, then duty leave is admissible, and 30-day this thing is there in rule.
Thank you, sir, for clearing. Another question is, sir, is any publication mandatory if one returns from a sabbatical leave?
No, ma'am. Sabbatical comes from the word sabbat. Sabbat means chutti, Sunday, right? You do your research. You naturally it is given to you for what you call enriching yourself as well as academic. This thing is concerned, and as far as rules are concerned, your research can be in any direction. It is not necessary that you are doing your research only in your subject which you teach in this thing. We otherwise also are in the word of multidisciplinarity and interdisciplinarity. So you can do this. There is no publication required as such on coming back from this thing. You must have given, you must give your plan what you are going to do, but that's about it. A brief this thing that you have studied, your research, your this thing, and that much is enough. No publication.
Thank you, sir, for clearing this. Another question is, can trip to Lakshadweep be availed against HTC?
No. Against HTC, only Jammu and Kashmir, Andaman and Nicobar, and northeastern states. You cannot exchange your HTC to Lakshadweep. Still, it is not available. It is available only LTC anywhere. That's what we call LTC anywhere in the country, not HTC. It's not against. You cannot change your hometown to hometown leave to. Hometown leave is allowed to change only Lakshadweep, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Jammu and Kashmir, and northeastern states. And that September 21, after September 21, government has extended the date. I think they are in process of that. That will be extended, but only for three destinations, not for Lakshadweep.
Okay. Another question, sir. Thank you. What is the difference between duty leave and academic leave? And can they be availed in a year? Both of them can be availed.
As I said, that special casual leave and academic leave as such, these two are not there in the statute books. They are not in the rule books. Right, we call them by whatever name we want to call them. Special casual leave, I said, as I earlier in my intervention said, that is depends on the discretion of the sanctioning authority. If sanctioning authority feels that yes, this casual leave above and over and above the casual leave is sanctioned and it is the interest of organization or in the interest of individual, then only that can be sensible. There's nothing called as rule books don't have any mention of any academic leave or special casual.
Thank you, sir. Sir, another question is also related to sabbatical. Can sabbatical be taken in 2 spells? Minimum gap between 2 spells should be how much? And another question is also related. Can sabbatical of 2 years can be taken at a stretch?
No. Again, I had mentioned it in my intervention that you cannot take 2 years at a stretch. It has to be 1 year and 1 year. And in between that gap, in between those two sabbatical, 2 years of sabbatical leave, a gap of 3 years, you must have come back and served the institution for 3 years before proceeding for another spell of sabbatical leave. It cannot be taken at stretch.
Thank you, sir. Another question is, can study leave be availed for doing a research project?
Study leave is admissible for doing PhD, that is doctoral research. Actually, study leave is for 5 years, out of which 3 years are paid and 2 years are not unpaid leave, whatever you want to say. But that name is study leave because that is counted for counting your service. Extraordinary leave is not counted in service. So study leave, if you want to take for any other after 3 years, it will not be paid leave. You will have to go on without paid.
Okay. Before we move to the, still there are few questions, sir, in the chat box. I'll take up that. But before, I would like our respected faculty also to interact with you. So Dr. Upasana Seth would like to, has raised her hand and she would like to ask. Ma'am, please take start.
Thank you, Roshni. Sir, very good morning to you. Thank you for this wonderful session. I just want to clear one of the doubt. If a person has availed study leave for 3 years during her professional period, during her working days, whatever that is, can she further proceed for sabbatical leave too? Can she avail sabbatical leave as she has already availed 3 years of study leave? My question is exactly.
Yes, ma'am. Very good question. And there is a lot of doubt about this. In fact, earlier times when study leave was admissible, it was admissible only to the professors, and that too if they had not taken any study leave. 6th Pay Commission onwards, it is now admissible to associate professors also. And the recent this thing in the university, the circular will be provided to Professor Priya Bir. You can have a look at that. Now, even if you have taken study leave, you are entitled to sabbatical.
Okay, thank you so much. And sir, that sabbatical leave can be for 2 years, but with the break.
Yeah, it cannot be. It is for 2 years in the entire service, this thing, but cannot be at a stretch. You first 1 year, and then after that, after
serving for 3 years, and then for. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay, most welcome.
Thank you, sir. Sir, another query is there any document related to Lakshadweep visit?
Yes, ma'am. I have given you this thing. You just, if you type this on your Google, this thing, Sports, Society for Promotion of Natural Tourism and Sports in Lakshadweep. Sports Lakshadweep. Entire document is there. They will show you the pictures of the islands. They will show you the cabins of the ship that takes you. It is the name of ship is Kavarati, and it's a beautiful ship. There are 3 class of accommodations there: the bunk class, the second class, and the first class. The first class cabins are on the top deck, and it sails from Kochi, say around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then you reach one of these islands. Sometimes they don't go directly to Minicoy. Other times they go to Kadmat. Then from Kadmat they go to Kavarati, and Kavarati to Minicoy, and back to Kochi. So the 3 days are there, and these 4 or 5 nights are there. You start from Kochi. It will take to say Kadmat. Then after taking the breakfast at the ship, you will be transferred to motorboats. Motorboats will take you to beach and the island. Throughout the day, you do your excursion there. You visit the itinerary is very much there. They give you lunch, etc. 5 o'clock tea on the beach, and after that they come bring you back to the ship. Your dinner, etc. on the ship. Throughout the night, again the ship travels, goes to the next beach. It's a beautiful journey. That's why I said that, and it is 100% claimable under LTC. Only thing is that the food portion that the ship provides, they give you a certificate that this much is your travel expenses, this much is your lodging thing, that is the food and etc. So that portion will not be given. I think these days they are charging you some 21,000. Out of that 21,000, 9,000 per person will not be given to you, will not be claimable under LTC. Rest will be, you can claim under LTC and visit that island. That's a journey which we should, my advice to people is that we should do it.
Thank you, sir. Sir, another query is there any leniency to travel by any other airline to Jammu and Kashmir or Northeast if fares are less than Air India?
That leniency to travel by other airlines is not
to Jammu.
there.
Yeah.
Only thing is that if the fares are less than the prescribed fare for LTC, this thing, then you can take that fare, but that too of Air India, not of any airline. No other airline as on date is permissible. Only thing is that today Air India has been sold to Tatas. So it's as good as private. Now new rules will be framed, then probably it will be open to all the airlines. But as on date, no, you cannot travel by any other. Your claim may not be settled.
Another question is, sir, is intimation of CL is necessary in advance?
No. If possible, try and inform your authorities, but casual leave is casual leave. You can, casualty or any, this may arise at the 11th hour and you may not be in a position to inform this thing. It is advisable to, but not necessary.
Thank you, sir. Next is, what kind of a leave can be taken for attending FDP, Faculty Development Programs?
Faculty Development Programs के लिए आपको आपका college जो है, that will give you that there they will sanction you what we have said, that the special casual leave. For that you are not doing any duty, special casual leave, that is called to attend the special. That again, the college principals, this thing is there, registration is there, and they will give you the special casual.
Sir, I think this has been answered. Can sabbatical leave be availed after a study leave?
Yes, I mean, that's what we said, no?
Yes.
Clubbing study leave and sabbatical leave, if you are saying that is not possible, but you come back after study leave also, you have to come back, you have to serve the institution for a double number of years with a capping of at least 2 years is there, no? If you have taken 3 years of this thing, then you come back, serve the institution, then go on sabbatical leave. And sabbatical leave, as I said, now, even if you have taken study leave, sabbatical leave is permissible, paid sabbatical leave is permissible. You are entitled to that, but you are not clubbed.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Next is, can EL be claimed as a matter of right or intimation and approval needed?
Madam, no leave is, as far as rules are concerned, no leave is matter of right. Let me be very categorical and very frank with you. No leave is matter of right. It is, see, if contingencies demand that your leave, which has already been sanctioned, it may be, the permission may be withdrawn, you may be asked to join back. There the rules are very clear.
Next question is, sir, is member of WU mandatory even if we are not taking any prescription or medicine from there?
That's a very gray area. I mean, I would like to remain silent on that. Most of us are not member of WUS. We are submitting our bills directly to our college, and we get the reimbursement if we have taken treatment from recognized that the doctors on panel and the hospitals which are there on panel. If we go to OPD of these things, then we get this thing. Actually, WUS insists that each one of us should become member there, pay 500 rupees per month fees, and then even if we submit our bills directly to the college, we should become. But probably more than 60% of us in the university are not member of that. That's why I don't want to say anything on record for that.
So for this clarification also, any revised handbook of rules is there, sir, that we can refer?
Ma'am, the Swami's rule book is every year published, and they what you call revise it every year. Plus now all these rules and circulars are available on net. You type the keywords, you will get all the circulars on net. And our Delhi University website also is now updated regularly. You can find the rules and regulations there also. It's just keywords into the Google and you will get the required circular.
Thank you, sir. Another is, airlines apart from Air India have also been permitted to provide the fare is lesser, provided the fare is lesser.
No, ma'am, not as on date.
Next is
what by this fare, less fare, we mean is that certain times what happens is that the LTC fare is too high, and normal fare of Air India is less. So people used to buy those tickets, spending the lesser amount. That's why the government of India came out with clarification that if you are traveled by Air India, even if you have purchased the normal ticket, not the LTC price ticket, and if that ticket happens to be lesser than LTC price ticket, then your claim will be settled. If you travel where your normal price is higher than the LTC price, then your claim will not be settled. I know one sector only, and that sector is Delhi-Ladakh sector. Delhi-Ladakh sector, the normal price is higher than LTC ticket price. All other sectors, the LTC price is 3-4 times than the normal. So in case you travel to Ladakh by a normal ticket, Air India, once again I'm emphasizing Air India, I'm not talking about any other airline, I'm talking about Air India only. Air India, Delhi-Ladakh fare is higher than what has been prescribed in the LTC list. So you will get only the LTC prescribed fare and not the entire amount. Rest of the country, wherever you go, the prescribed amount, the amount that the list talks about, is much lesser than, much higher than what the normal price is. Your claim will be settled if you are traveled by a normal price ticket once, but not by any other airline. As of date, not by any other airline.
Thank you, sir. Sir, another pertinent question is, how do we give private taxi bills? They usually don't provide these bills.
Well, that again is an area that somehow we will have to manage. Without bills, the claim is not settled. For example, when I visited Sikkim, the private taxis were offering lesser fare, but I contacted the Sikkim Tourism Office. Sikkim Tourism Office gave me the taxi, and they gave me the bill with GST and all that, and then the claim was settled. But if you travel where if you have not paid GST on that, that bill also may be rejected. They may not settle. That is very, very clear. These days, any bill that we submit over authentication must be GST paid bill. If you have not paid GST on that, that claim may not get settled. That way, the Government of India rules are very, very specific and clear.
Sir, two more questions. The one is, from your descriptions and your talk, is it that one can take 3 kinds of long study leave, that is study leave, CCL, and sabbatical together? Is this right? Is this?
Yes, we are. Study leave is admissible to each and every employee. CCL is admissible to women employee, and after that, sabbatical again is admissible to all the employees. So, if you have taken study leave, nobody bars you from taking the CCL. In fact, for CCL, if you are asking for a long leave, then that condition may come. But in between, no, CCL can be for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days also. No, 30 days of CCL in entire career you take. If you are asking for long, then the eligibility might come in this thing that you have not served, but otherwise there is no bar that you have taken study leave, so you will not be allowed sabbatical leave, or you will not be allowed CCL. They are very much admissible, and you are entitled.
Okay. So the last one is, can deputation be outside the university? Maximum duration of deputation is how much?
Deputation can definitely be outside university. It can be outside the city also. There is no bar on that. You get a deputation allowance, that is maximum 10% of your basic pay. A cap of 4,500 is there on that. If it is within the city, if it is outside the city, then you're paid 9,000, maximum 9,000 rupees additional deputation charges on there. One thing we have to keep in mind, that deputation cannot be for a lower post. Deputation must always be for a higher post. For example, you are an associate professor, then you can go to a position of professor or director or whatever. Plus, your question was that maximum limit is 2 years of this thing, and it can be at the mutual agreed. This thing can be, if your organization agrees and the other organization is, extendable up to 1 year. But beyond that, no. You have to get absorbed either there or come back to your parent.
Thank you so much, sir. My words are short when I say a special thanks to you, because you have so patiently addressed all our questions with such a great zeal. Thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to invite our Professor Bharti Mohan on board to deliver the vote of thanks. Ma'am, please, over to you.
Thank you, Roshni. On behalf of Aditi Mahavidyalaya, I would like to extend my gratitude to our guest of honor, Professor Rajni Abhi, ma'am, for taking out time to grace the event. I would like to thank Professor Dinesh Adlakar, sir, for conducting such an insightful session. I would also like to thank our respected principal, ma'am, Professor Mamta Sharma, for her constant support and encouragement. A special thanks to my fellow colleagues who have helped in organizing this event and making it a great success. I would also like to express my heartfelt gratitude to all the attendees for their participation. With this, we officially conclude today's event. Thank you everyone for attending and have a nice day ahead.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. In fact, I have reread the rules and all these things before coming this thing. So these opportunities enrich our experience also. So once again, I thank you all for giving a patient hearing. And any other time, if any need is there, any circular, etc. is needed, we are always a phone call away. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
May I request all of you here, the participants, to please fill up